You've probably heard that old saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. But what does that really look like? I mean, in real life. Well, today we're diving into a story that shows us exactly that, how the absolute deepest hardships can be forged into our greatest strengths. It's about how the most valuable gold is so often hidden in the dirt of our struggles. This isn't just a story, it's kind of like a blueprint for the human spirit. And it all starts with this powerful Swahili proverb: a tree does not fall with one blow. Think about that for a second. This idea is the key to everything we're about to explore. See, resilience isn't about dodging the storm, right? It's about having roots so deep that you can withstand any hit. This is the core wisdom that shapes the incredible journey of a woman named Sharab. So let's go. Our story begins in the dry highlands of Kericho, a place where life feels like it's etched into the parched earth. And this is where we meet Cherub. Her name actually means born during the rainy season, which is a beautiful irony because her early life was pretty much a drought of peace and an absolute abundance of struggle. Cherub's world was one of just stark poverty. You're talking about being raised by her grandmother, Gogo Chepkazi, in a mud house that leaked when it rained. Food was often just simple millet porridge, and she would sing old songs to try and quiet her hunger. But even in this harsh soil, her grandmother was planting these little seeds of unshakable strength. Every story of resilience seems to have a breaking point. And for Cherub, that first major blow, it didn't come from poverty. It came from the hope of escaping it. She met a young man named Kiprono, and in him she saw a whole new future, one free from all the dust and the hunger that had defined her entire life. So Kiprono, he promised her everything: a life of dignity, of security. But his family, well, they couldn't see past her poverty. They couldn't see the fire in her spirit. And when a wealthier bride was offered up, Kiprono chose a comfortable future over his promise, absolutely shattering Chirac's heart and leaving her to face the shame of it all alone. And the reason they gave for their cruelty? Wow, it was as simple as it was devastating. The poor have no voice. I mean, this wasn't just a rejection. It was like they were trying to erase her, telling her that in the eyes of the world, her worth was measured in coins, not in character. Now, in this moment of just complete despair, Chirap's grandmother didn't offer her comfort. Nope, she offered her wisdom. A lion learns to hunt while hungry. This profound truth would become Chirap's mantra. That hunger for dignity, born from this horrible betrayal, would be the very fire that forged her into a hunter of her own destiny. So with her grandmother gone, Cherub had no choice but to leave her village for the tough, unforgiving streets of Nairobi. And listen, if the village was the first blow, the city was going to be the fire. And this fire would test her in ways she could never, ever have imagined. In Nairobi, Cherub actually dared to trust again. She partnered with a man named Moses, and together, from the ground up, they built a small business. But just as success was finally in their grasp, Moses vanished. He disappeared, taking not just all their profits, but also the fragile trust Cherub had so carefully rebuilt. The pain of this second betrayal was a fire that really could have just consumed her. But instead of letting it burn her to ashes, Cherub did something incredible. She stepped right into the flames. She decided that this fire would not be her destruction, it would be her forge. It would be the heat that shaped her into something unbreakable. And so, in the heart of a city that had tried its best to break her, Cherub began to rebuild. And look, this wasn't some sudden phoenix from the ashes kind of rebirth. No, it was a slow, deliberate process of piecing herself back together, one shard of her broken trust at a time. Her rebuilding process was a masterclass in resilience. First, she learned everything she could about her trade. Second, she saved every penny. Third, and this is so important, she listened way more than she spoke. And then, with all the wisdom she had earned, she rebuilt her enterprise brick by brick, entirely on a foundation of her own strength. And the transformation, it's just breathtaking. The girl who left Kericho covered in the dust of poverty, she came back wearing the quiet grace of humility. The girl who knew only the gnawing pangs of hunger returned with the peace of a full heart. She had left in shame, but she returned with a dignity that could never be bought or sold. And maybe most powerfully of all, the girl who was told she had no voice returned with a voice that would lift up an entire community. So when Cherub returned to Kericho, it wasn't a victory lap. It wasn't about showing off. It was a pilgrimage. She didn't come to flaunt her success. She came to share it. She hadn't just come back to her home. She had come back to rebuild it, using the strength she had forged in the crucible of all that suffering. And her purpose wasn't just a feeling, it was action. On the land her grandmother had left her, she built a school. For the forgotten widows of her village, she created jobs. For the orphaned girls, she provided a future, paying their bride prices and giving them the dignity she had been so cruelly denied. She didn't just teach women how to survive, she taught them how to soar. When people asked her about the man who had broken her heart so many years ago, Cherub's answer was just a testament to her transformation. She said, "The one who broke me, built me." In that one simple phrase, she reveals the secret of her resilience, this incredible ability to reframe pain into power, to see the architect of her strength in the person who caused her so much suffering. And when asked about the source of her success, her wisdom was just as profound and just as down to earth. Gold is found by digging. Her life was a living testament to this truth, wasn't it? The real treasures of her life, her strength, her wisdom, her purpose, they weren't gifts that fell from the sky. They were treasures she had to unearth herself from the depths of her own struggle. In a way, Cherub's story is like a mirror. It reflects our own struggles back at us. It challenges us to look at our own hardships, our own betrayals, our own fires, and to ask a difficult but absolutely essential question. What gold is waiting for you in the darkness, if only you have the courage to start digging?